The opinions expressed in the Brothers on Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.
Thanks for tuning into Brothers on Law on Go Country 105. I'm Larry Mandel.
And I'm Rob Mandel.
And we've been trial attorneys here in Los Angeles for over 40 years.
On our show, we will discuss current events, talk about legal issues, and have some very entertaining guests stop by. So stay tuned every week for Brothers on Law right here on Go Country 105. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Brothers on Law Zoom Edition. I'm Rob Mandel.
And I'm Larry Mandel.
And as always, we want to thank the Mortgage Mom for coming on the air before us with all that valuable information. We love following her show, don't we, Larry?
Yeah, it's good stuff. Rob, before we welcome our guest today, we have been asking listeners to call in and nominate a local person or group going above and beyond for their community right now.
Above and beyond.
Yeah, we've gotten a really, really tremendous response.
Yes.
And our producer, Cam, has a message we are going to call and thank properly. We will also present them a little token of our gratitude. So let's listen to the message we received.
All right.
Hello, my name is Roger Zendejas, and I wanted to nominate my longtime friend, Michael Lopez. He has started a nonprofit organization called Mission Echo in the LA, Los Angeles area. And what he does is collect money and funds to help feed the homeless in the downtown area, Skid Row area. He has been doing this now for the last 8 years. It started with him and his family and has grown over the last 7 to 8 years. So once again, I would like to nominate Michael Lopez. He is with Mission Echo in the LA area. Thank you so much.
All right, Cam, let's get Michael on the phone if we can.
I have Michael Lopez from Mission Echo on the phone.
Wow. All right. Hello, Michael. You're on the air with Brothers on Law.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're doing well. We're doing great. Right, Larry?
Yes, we are. And how are you doing, Michael?
I'm great. I'm just as good as you guys.
Good to hear. And tell us a little bit about Mission Echo.
So what Mission Echo is, first of all, ECHO stands for Ex Cholo Helping Others. And for those that might not know what a Cholo is, a Cholo is a gang member.
Okay.
I was born and raised in LA, and I was gang active for 25 years of my life. I was a crack addict for 22 years. I served 5 prison terms.
Wow.
And, my time came to where I was tired of suffering. And the idea of Mission Echo was actually born in my prison cell in 1995. I got back. I don't remember if I came back from church or from one of those self-help groups, but I came back very motivated, thinking one day I'm going to be, back to normal. I'm going to be good. And I'd like to have a program to, help the people. And I started kicking around, ideas for a name of my group, and ECHO came up, and, it was the acronym of Ex Cholo Helping Others. And in 2019, I finally filed for a nonprofit, and we're off and running. I've been doing it for about 7 to 8 years now, but legitimately as a nonprofit since 2019. And this thing has just grown and grown. It was one of those deals that I made with God. Lord, please, man, take away this suffering. I'm sorry. Clean me up, and I'll do whatever you wanted me to do.
Yeah.
He did just that. He cleaned me up, but his sense of humor, he sent me right back to Skid Row.
Of course. But in a different form, right? In a different mode.
Yes.
Hey, that's fantastic, Michael. That is really, really an amazing story. Now, has the job that you've been doing these last 7 or 8 years changed because of the coronavirus?
Well, it has. So I know the county has helped, or they recently implemented housing programs. There's so many different ones. So you do see less people on Skid Row, but don't be fooled, because there are still way too many people living on the streets. We've gotten to where when we go out to, to these outreaches, we're handing out gloves and masks and sanitizers this is all stuff that I fundraise for through our Instagram. And, we're going to be going out this Sunday again. And, we pretty much, we try to practice the social distancing as much as we can. But, it is what it is. You get overwhelmed with people sometimes, and not everyone wants to listen to the social distancing. But we do what we can to stay safe, to keep my family safe, our volunteers, and to encourage, the homeless people to, hey, just get in line. We have enough for everybody, thank God. Let's just be safe about it. And for the most part, they police themselves, but you do have those times where we just give it to me and give it to me now,
Yeah, of course. Well, that is fantastic.
Is that on a weekly basis, Michael? You go out once a week?
No, we go out weekly. We have, a few different sponsors that donate items, like the Two Girl Gang. They're out of Orange County. They donate alkalinized water. And then again, all the fundraising that I do through my Instagram via opportunity drawings or just people sending in donations.
Fantastic.
Buy all the supplies that we need. We're currently fundraising for a cargo van. I've come to the point to where my little family minivan is not enough anymore. And so we're fundraising for a cargo van. We've had tremendous support and trying to raise money, but a lot more is still needed. And so the quicker I can get a cargo van for us, the more supplies we can take out, because you can take out 1,000 meals and 1,000 meals wouldn't be enough. You can take out 700 gallons of water and it wouldn't be enough,
Wow.
And it's just
That's something.
My time on the street because of my addiction, showed me, I learned pretty quick that the streets weren't for me as far as being homeless. But now that I have 11 years clean, I don't forget those people that are still struggling. And as I'm telling you this, my eyes get watery because
we hear it.
That's where my heart's at. Wow. I don't forget those people. It's only food. I tell people all the time, it's none of our business why people are homeless. We already know why they're there. Let's just help them. It's only food. Right. It's only food.
Right. Well, speaking of that, we're going to send you some gift cards for Ralph's, which is which is helping us out, helping us help people like yourselves. And, we want to help out and do our part. And we love what you're doing, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very, very much. I appreciate it. As a nonprofit, we live and die by donations. And so anywhere where we can get funding for whatever, it takes a load of work off of me because I'm the sole fundraiser. And it's hard work to fundraise. It's really hard work. Discouragement sets in sometimes when the funds aren't coming in and you start double guessing. Am I doing the right thing? But before you know it, something like this pops up and yes, you're doing the right thing. Just keep going.
That's right, man.
You are doing the right thing. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. You take care, buddy, and keep up the good work. And we're going to send you that stuff post haste.
Thank you very much for all your help. And if I can, I'd like to invite your followers to follow our Instagram, which is mission_echo, and maybe join the fight, against homelessness and hunger.
Absolutely.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother. Take care.
We're Larry and Rob Mandel, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105.
Do you need help feeding your family right now? We all know that schools are closed, and some kids rely on free or reduced price meals at school. Visit fns.usda.gov/meals4kids to find a grab-and-go meal center near you. They are offering 2 grab-and-go meals for kids. Again, please visit www.fns.usda.gov/meals4kids. 4 is the number 4. And let's make sure all the kids are fed. We have a special guest today, Robin. Just as a prelude to it, across the nation, we're having this coronavirus cases, and it's rising, at an alarming rate. I don't know, the average new cases has spiked, I think, like 41% or more. And, we're getting warned about our ICUs are going to be filled up, and we're going to see a deluge of new patients coming in. And so we've got to do something to treat those people that are in critical condition.
Right, because it's even more scary that the ICUs are running out of medications and critical drugs to help treat these people who are suffering from COVID-19. And so what are the medicines that the hospitals need most, and how can they get their hands on them fast? Well, we got a special guest who knows, and he's going to talk to us about that. Welcome to the show, Andrew Stasiak.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me.
And just by way of introduction, Andrew, you're director of Medivant Healthcare, which is the newest manufacturing facility in the U.S. for medications and drugs. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. We're based out of Phoenix, Arizona. Our technical registration is called a 503B, which is a regulatory pathway that the FDA gives to companies like ours, which allows us to circumvent some of the very lengthy processes that the FDA typically requires to get drugs to market.
I see.
And we're able to get some very specific drugs out into the market and into our communities very, very quickly, specifically for events like this with COVID and some of the other public health crises that we have.
So is this part of our U.S. drug shortage trend right now? Obviously because of the COVID, right?
Yeah, it really is. I haven't looked this week, but the last time I checked, the FDA posts the current drug shortage list on their website. And last week, there's 163 drugs that are currently in short supply. And it's incredible. These are a lot of the drugs that you just rely on that are at the doctor's office when you go. Things like lidocaine, if somebody cuts themselves or has a laceration, you go in and you get stitches, the doctors are going to give you lidocaine to numb up your skin so they can give you the sutures that are appropriate. That drug has been on short supply for a long time. And it really runs the full gamut of just... it's incredible the amount of drugs that are in short supply right now.
Yeah. And what does Medivant do to help alleviate these shortages?
Yeah, great question. So our responsibility within the U.S. public health sector is as a manufacturer. So we actually make sterile injectable drugs. And when you look at sort of the overall landscape of the drug market in the U.S., a lot of people go to Walgreens or CVS or something. You may get the medications that are prescribed to you from your doctor. Most of those are tablets and patches and things like that. A lot of those drugs are actually made out of the country. And the drugs that we're specifically focused on are the ones that when you go to the hospital or you go to the doctor and you get shots or anything that's really under the skin, it's called a parenteral application. That's really what we focus on. We're making only the ones that are in short supply right now.
I see.
And why are they in such short supply? I mean, it may be an obvious answer, but tell us about that.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question, and there's we can talk probably for hours about this alone. But really, what happens is it's I guess to sort of digress. It's a bit of a large discussion. So the way the process works in the U.S. is that companies identify particular molecules or target medications that they want to bring to market as a new drug. And they go through this process that typically takes about 10 years and $1 billion to do all this scientific research, to go into clinical studies, to gain all of this safety and efficacy data on these drugs.
Right.
It's a market, and the FDA gives them about 7 to 10 years of exclusivity for the drugs. That's the drugs you see on TV with the commercials, and you go to the doctor's office or you go to the hospital and the prescriptions are $1,000 or something.
Yeah. And all the side effects are longer than the effects of the drug, right?
Yeah. So after that 7 to 10 year process, the drugs then go generic, which I think we're all familiar with generic drugs. They're a lot cheaper than the name brand ones. And that's because the FDA has this generic drug program set up that basically says, they'll give, the FDA wants to foster public health. So they want everybody in our country to have access to these medications. But they also realize that the pharmaceutical industry is a competitive industry. And because it is so expensive to bring drugs to market, they have to balance allowing pharmaceutical companies to recoup that investment, as well as making sure that the public can get the drugs that they need. So after this 7 to 10 years, then the drugs go generic, and you get several different companies coming on board to start making the drug. And the way the generics market works is the first 1 or 2 companies that get to market end up making a lot of money because they're still relatively expensive. Yeah. As it is generic for a long time, you get more and more companies that come into market, and then it drives the price down. And so eventually you get to a point where there's so many companies that make the drug that there's only pennies really to be made per prescription or per unit. And then eventually it just gets a little bit too expensive for companies to make. And so it's like the ones that we're making, these are drugs that have been out for a long time. They're not very expensive to make. And the companies that were making these, for whatever reason, stopped. And it just costs a lot of money to get them back up and running to make these medications again. And so as a result, there's a lag in the production, and then they go into short supply.
Oh, my.
Have you suffered or been injured by someone else's negligence? When you need a legal team that will stand up for what is right, won't give up the fight and obtain justice, call 818-886-6600. Mandel Trial Lawyers specializes in personal injury cases of all types. Whether it's a car accident, product or premises liability, dog bite, or a catastrophic injury, Mandel Trial Lawyers are there for you when the fight is worth it. Call now for your free consultation. 818-886-6600. Let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
Hey folks, do you want to volunteer to help out during the crisis? The Red Cross still needs volunteers in a variety of capacities during COVID-19. Volunteer opportunities include supporting blood donations and delivering much-needed services to your community. They even have a wide variety of remote work-from-home opportunities available. Go to redcross.org/volunteer to sign up. That's redcross.org/volunteer. Hey, if you missed any part of this show or you just want to hear it again, go to brothersonlaw.com for all of our previous shows and all things Brothers on Law.
So, Andrew, is Medivant involved at all with vaccines, for instance, the COVID? And if not, what have you heard? What's any updates that you can tell our audience about?
So we're not directly involved in any COVID vaccines, but we are indirectly involved with that. And the way that we're indirectly involved with the COVID vaccine is the big companies like Sanofi, Ventis, Pfizer, Merck, these big multinational pharmaceutical companies are investing a ton of resources and money in trying to identify the COVID vaccine. As a result, they're taking a lot of their resources away from making the standard drugs that they would normally make, and they're going after the COVID vaccine. So now there's a lag with those standard drugs. So a company like ours can come in and fill that gap, and so we can still supply the drugs that are needed to market, allowing companies like Pfizer or Merck or whoever with these huge scientific research and development departments to then focus on that.
That's exciting, actually. I mean, that's cool.
Good to know.
Yeah. And specific to the COVID vaccine, the last I heard, there's a couple really promising candidates in early stage clinical trials. They're trying to accelerate those as fast as possible, but I've heard that it's probably going to be winter at the earliest before there's going to be any sort of vaccine available.
Yeah. In fact, what I read was they're doing these clinical trials right now in Brazil. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, I've heard of those.
Yeah. But they expect it to be about as efficient as a flu vaccine, which would be around 40%. Have you heard that as well, or?
I have heard that. And I've also heard that the actual COVID strain, similar to the flu, is mutating a little bit. And so, for example, I've heard that here in Arizona, we unfortunately are one of the harder hit areas in the country right now with COVID. But one of the strains that are going around, I guess, has some different symptoms than the traditional COVID strain, I guess, that's on the East Coast. And so because you've got to you want to target the specific strain, but if there's some changes in that strain of COVID, then the vaccine's not as effective as if it was 100% compatible.
But what if you got antibodies injected into you, basically what the vaccine does, right? Does it potentially reduce the what's the word for how powerful it is, or how dangerous it might be ordinarily?
It does, yeah. So the way that a vaccine works is you actually inject people with either a killed off strain or a much less severe strain of the virus. And so you're encouraging people's own bodies to make our own natural defenses against it. And so similar to the flu vaccine, when you get the flu, it's a dead strain of whatever flu virus is for the year. And then our bodies make the antibodies against it that then can fight it off. And so similar to the conversation or the point we were just talking about, where if the COVID virus may not be the exact strain, it's similar enough that your bodies create antibodies against the virus. And so even if it isn't the exact same strain of COVID, your body still has more defense mechanisms to use in your tool chest of antiviral abilities than it would with no vaccine at all.
Right. So Andrew, I understand that the drugs that you're making are supplied to the ICUs, right? And that's filling a gap of what may not be available ordinarily because of the short supply, right?
That's right. When people go to the ICUs and unfortunately when people get intubated and the stuff we see on the news that it's terrible that these people have to undergo, you can't necessarily intubate a person who's awake and has full awareness of what's going on, because you're basically putting a tube down someone's throat and you sedate that person to successfully intubate them. And so one of the most common drugs that the ICUs use is a drug called midazolam. And midazolam is a drug that relaxes your esophagus, helps sedate patients, and allows the doctors to do their job of successfully intubating people. That drug in particular went on critical short supply, I should say, back in April. And so we've been working as hard as we can to make sure that we're able to fill that need. And so that's one of the drugs that we're currently working on.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that's almost heroic when you think about how desperate someone must be with this illness to have to be intubated like that. And it really is sad that this is the state that we're in. Just sort of as a global community, hearing that not only the U.S. but around the world, the troubles that everybody's facing. And here in the U.S., if we can help support our family and our friends and our neighbors here in the U.S., that's certainly our mission that we're trying to be successful at. Yeah. Go ahead, Larry. You wanted to say something?
How listeners find out more about Medivant?
Sure. You can go to our website, www.medivanthealthcare.com.
How's that spelled?
It's MEDIVANT health.com. Sorry, I said healthcare. Actually, our website is medivanthealth.com.
Okay.
And one more time, it's MEDIVANT health.com.
We're Larry and Rob Mandel, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105.
From all of us on the Brothers-in-Law Show, we want to give a big thank you to these sponsors who we've partnered with to help honor our local heroes and groups for going above and beyond for their community. We'd like to thank Ralph's, Whole Foods, Target, and Chipotle. Thank you for all you do in our community.
One of the drugs I noticed that you guys are making, which I was scratching my head on, and I had a few questions on, is sodium bicarbonate, which is basically baking soda, right?
Soda, yeah. It's drug. So we make a few that are similar to that. Sodium bicarbonate. We make a sterile water. We make a dextrose solution, which is just a sugar solution, and those are typically used as what's called vehicle solutions. And so there's a whole nother facet of pharmaceutical manufacturing called lyophilized products. And lyophilized products are a fancy way to say freeze-dried. And there's certain drugs that are mostly biologics or different sort of active drugs that otherwise will have a very short shelf life. Companies will freeze-dry these drugs, and you get basically a white powder at the bottom of a vial. In order to administer that to a patient, you have to reconstitute it in a solution. And the way that the injectable drug world works is that here in Arizona, we have a very technologically advanced water facility here. So we take city water, purify it till it's ultra clean and ultra purified. It basically takes everything out of the water except the hydrogen and oxygen molecules. And you use that as your base for all of the injectable drugs that you make. And the reason you do that is because then you can add salts back. And whenever we have any sort of injection that goes under the skin or anything, it has to have salts in it because your body requires that. But in order to control it the way we need to take everything out of the water, and then we can put back exactly what we need into the water so we know what's going into patients. So in the case of the sodium bicarbonate, we're taking our ultra pure water, very tightly controlling the amount of sodium bicarbonate, they're called excipients, sodium. We adjust the pH of the water. And then you have a very well-known, highly controlled solution that you can take the other component, which is the lyophilized product, and reconstitute it with this sodium bicarbonate mixture. And then it helps not only bring it safely into the body, but it also helps send the target drug to where it needs to go.
Wow. So that's used in the ICU also, right, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely right. So,
but that is in short supply as well. So sodium bicarbonate.
Yeah, sodium bicarbonate's in short supply, and even up until a week or two ago, and actually maybe back in short supply, but just sterile water is in short supply.
Wow.
It's these things that you scratch your head and you say, how is that in short supply? It seems like a very basic thing that we should have, and unfortunately, we're in this situation.
Yeah. Well, look, we very much appreciate you coming on the show and telling us about the great work that Medivant is doing and helping our, listeners understand what's really going on out there. It's challenging. I'm hearing something from my computer's making a noise. Hope you guys don't hear that too. But anyway,
we don't hear it, Rob. Medivant.
All right. So listen, but Andrew, thanks again for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And if I may, just real quick, invite everybody to our website. We have so as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are the newest pharmaceutical manufacturing company in the country. All of our equipment is brand new, 21st century equipment that it's pretty cool. And we've got a video tour on our website where you can actually do a 3D walkthrough of our full manufacturing facility. Perfect. So if interested in how your medication's made, please visit our website at medivanthealth.com and take the tour. I believe I narrate that, so if you want to listen to my voice a little bit more, you're welcome.
Sweet.
Why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we got to wrap it up. So sorry. And say our goodbyes till next Saturday. But hey, everybody, if you've missed any part of this show or you'd like to hear any of our previous shows, go to YouTube, brothersonlaw.com, or iTunes. And if you have a legal question or want to tell us about a show topic, call us. Leave us a message at 800-310-7113. That's 800-310-7113.
And a big thank you to all our listeners who are staying safe out there. We look forward to being here next week on Saturday at 8 a.m. on Go Country 105. And remember,
let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
The opinions expressed in the Brothers on Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.